وَإِن مِّنْ أَهْلِ الْكِتَابِ إِلَّا لَيُؤْمِنَنَّ بِهِ قَبْلَ مَوْتِهِ. And then it goes on to say, after you have made your declaration of faith, when Nabi Isa alayhi salam returns as the Messiah, and you now believe in him, وَيَوْمُ الْقِيَامَةِ يَكُونُ عَلَيْهِمْ شَهِيدًا. يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ يَكُونُ عَلَيْهِمْ شَهِيدًا. Despite that declaration of faith, it will not be accepted. As the declaration of Pharaoh was not accepted. And on the day of judgment, he'll give evidence against you and you go into the hellfire. And so now we can answer the question. What was the question? وَالْيَوْمَ نُنَجِّيكَ بِبَدَنِكَ. This day, we have decided to preserve your physical body, Pharaoh. لِتَكُونَ لِمَنْ خَلْفَكَ آيَةً. That this body of yours, when it is rediscovered in history, thousands of years from now, would be a sign for a people to come after you. Who are those people? Now we know who they are. They will be the Ahlul Kitab. Which Ahlul Kitab? They will be the Jews who rejected Nabi Isa alayhi salam as Al-Masih. And they will be the Christians who believed in Nabi Isa alayhi salam as the Messiah, but also believed that he was the Son of God and the third person of a Trinity. These people will now be forced, when they see him, when he comes back, with his hand resting on the wings of two angels, and he comes back to the world, and Imam al-Mahdi is standing there and he declares, here he is, this is the son of Mary. At that time, this history will reoccur. History will repeat itself. At that time it was the rod striking the water. Now it's too late. At this time it is Nabi Isa alayhi salam coming down. Now it's too late. If you had not declared faith before, now it is too late. The rest of our lecture is interesting. Before the final moment arrives, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asked Musa alayhi salam, take your rod and strike the water. Before that occurred, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala caused a number of His signs to unfold in Egypt. How many were there? Can someone help me? How many were there? 7. How many? 12. How many? Somebody said 7, somebody said 12. How many signs were there? The Quran answers the question. The Quran says that there were 9. I was afraid I might not be able to remember the 9, so I wrote them down. The first one. And you will see in a moment, at that time it was 9, at this time it is 9. At that time it was 9, at this time it is 9. Yes? Number 1. When Musa alayhi salam was there in the desert, it was almost dark, the place was cold, and he had his wife and children with him, and they were lost. And then he saw a fire in a distance. So he told his wife and children, stay here, let me go. Maybe over there by the fire I could get some directions, or at least I could bring back a burning branch so we could make a fire, get some warmth. When he reached the fire, there was nobody there. If it was you or I, we get scared, we run away. A fire in the desert, and nobody there. I'll be scared, won't you? And then a voice spoke, but nobody there. Now you get even more scared. Inni ana Allah. Allah is speaking. It is me, I am Allah. La ilaha illa ana. There is no God beside me. Take off your shoes, Musa. He took it off quickly, very quickly. And then Allah spoke to him. That's why he's known as Kalimullah, the one whom Allah speaks. That I'm giving you a mission, Musa. This is your mission. Pharaoh, he has exceeded all the limits that they are now exceeding in the Holy Land. He has exceeded all the limits of oppression, wickedness, evil conduct against the servants of Allah. So go give him a warning from me. Tell him, stop this oppression of yours, this wickedness of yours, and release my people. So Musa said, I need some help. Will you allow my brother to go with me? Harun alayhi salam. Yes, Harun can go. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him the first sign that you will give to Egypt and to Pharaoh. What is that in your hand, Musa? Alayhi salam. Oh, this is my staff. I use it with the sheep and other things. Musa, throw it on the ground. Now when you teach these children, when you teach the story to children, make sure you have a rod in your hand, okay? Make sure you have a rod in your hand. Make sure it is night time. Get a lantern. Get a bottle with some kerosene, light it, make a flambeau, a light, okay? And then you have the children around the fire, and then you throw the rod on the ground. And from the time you throw the rod, he must jump back quickly. Come back quickly. Something is happening. The rod became a snake. Okay? Musa, hold on to it. So now you're going to try to hold the rod, the staff, but you must show fright. You're afraid to go hold it. No. So the children are watching you. And the children are learning, they're reliving this story. And then when he held on to the snake, it became a rod once again. That's sign number one. And then Musa, alayhi salam, put your hand underneath your arm. Now take it out. And when he took it out, it was gleaming with light. White light. But nothing wrong with his hand. Now go. So Musa alayhi salam went and delivered the signs. As we must also deliver the signs. Did you hear that? Did you hear that? Musa alayhi salam went and delivered the signs at that time. And these are the first two, and there were 7 more. As we also will have 9 this time. And we also must call the attention of people to these 9 signs. We'll come to that in a moment. But when Musa alayhi salam delivered the signs, they did not bother with him. No. So then Allah instructed Musa alayhi salam, and the other signs came, one after the other. There was frogs. You sit down to eat your akani, son? Akani? And you sit down to eat your akani, a frog jumps into the food. You go in the bathroom, you have a bucket of water, you want to take a ghusl, and as you dip, a frog is in the water. Huh? And then you lie down on the bed with your wife at night time to sleep, and between you and your wife is a problem. Huh? So this was sign number 3. And then there was light. Light. In your hair. Everybody, light. All over the place, light. And then there was locusts. And you know what the locusts do? They destroy all the crops. And then there was drought, no rain. So as a result of the combination of drought, no rain and locusts, you now have short crops, shortage of food. And then you have tufan. No, that's not an easy one. Tufan. Even the scholars of Arabic have difficulty with tufan. Some say tufan was showers that became floods, or powerful wind like a hurricane. Whatever it was a sign. And then finally, that the water of the river Nile became blood. Either the water of the river Nile became blood, or water became blood. So these are 9 signs. And every time Allah will unleash a sign or unfold a sign to them, and the Egyptians will be in a state of torment, difficulties, with lice all over the place. And then they will say to Musa alayhi salam, pray to your God, ask him to take this plague away, and we will allow Banu Israel to go. So Musa alayhi salam will pray to Allah, he'll take away the lice, and then Pharaoh and the Egyptians will say, no, we're not releasing them. So the 9 signs unfolded, but did not impact upon Pharaoh and the Egyptian people who supported him. When all 9 signs had unfolded, only then did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala act. And what did he do? Where is it? وأوحينا إلى موسى وأخيه أن تبوأ لقومكما بمصر بيوتا. Why is he reciting word by word? We're not accustomed to that. وَجَعَلُوا بُيُوتَكُمْ قِبْلَةً وَأَقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَبَشِّرِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. This is not an easy ayah. When Allah was ready for what will we call it? The countdown. That's the word. The countdown to the rod hitting the water. The countdown now begins. What does he do? For the countdown to begin, something important had to happen to the people who are the servants of Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that he then revealed or inspired or instructed Musa alayhi salam and his servant his brother Harun alayhi salam to establish residence in Misra, to establish residence, buyuta, in Misra. They were scattered all over Egypt. Pharaoh had them working as slaves to build the pyramids. to build the statues of Pharaoh, to build massive construction projects. That's why he didn't want to release Banu Israel, to lose all his slaves. So they were scattered all over Egypt, as we are scattered today. But the servants of Allah, at that time when the countdown begins, will have to leave wherever they are and come to one area. I wish I could repeat this 100,000 times. They have to leave wherever they were in Egypt and come to one place, a place called Misr. And Misr is not the whole of Egypt. Today Misr means the whole of Egypt. But at that time Misr is the area between the river Nile and the Red Sea. It's called the Eastern Delta, where when the river Nile overflows its bank, then this area will become flooded. So this area is very fertile. This is Misr in the Quran, not the whole of Egypt. So establish your buyut, your residence, in this area. وَجْعَلُوا بُيُوتَكُمْ قِبْلَةً. Now that is difficult. وَجْعَلُوا بُيُوتَكُمْ قِبْلَةً. Qibla is the direction to which we turn in Salat. No, that is Qiblatus Salat. Qiblatus Salat will be Qibla for Salat. But this is not Qibla for Salat. This is Qibla to which you must travel from wherever you are scattered all over in Egypt. Not Qibla of Salat, but Qibla to which you must travel. So Musa, you and your brother, come on, establish your residence in Misr, which would be between the river Nile and the Red Sea. And then let all of Banu Israel leave wherever they are and come quietly, quietly, one by two, the way we made Hijrah, in small groups by night time and so on. Stealth, and come and join you here, in this area. Why? Because as soon as you all assemble over here, we'll be ready. After all of Banu Israel had assembled over here, where Musa alayhi salam and Harun alayhi salam had established their buyut, their residence, then at night time, Allah gave the word, move, head for the sea. And by the time Pharaoh got to know, because Pharaoh and his government, they have their spies and they are watching and seeing what's happening. But during the night time we moved, so by the time they got the news, we already gone far. So when Pharaoh and his army came rushing now, we've almost reached the water by morning time. And of course Allah Ta'ala is helping us and the angels with us and stuff. And when we reached the water, you could see Pharaoh's army coming in the distance, maybe a mile, 2 miles away. So we're between the devil and the deep blue sea. So many of us must have lost hope. Many of us must have been in a state of despair. This prophet has led us to disaster. That no, not the people who have faith in Allah. That's the difference with faith. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told Musa alayhi salam, no, you strike with the water, with your rod. And you know what happened after that. And so now we are living in that age where history is repeating itself. And so this night of Ashura and the story of Ashura in the Quran is of the greatest possible importance. to understand what is now happening and what is coming up. At that time there were 9 signs. 9. I'm not going to ask you to repeat because I don't think you remember. You remember the frogs. You might remember the light. And this time there are also 9. Where are the 9? That was 9, this is 9. Before the rod struck the water, there were 9. Before Nabi Isa Islam returned, there are 9. What are the 9? Nabi Muhammad Islam came upon us, we were sitting talking, and he asked, what are you talking about? We said, we're talking about the signs of the last day. He said the last day would not come until he mentioned 10, of which the return of Nabi Isa is 1. So take that out, 9 remaining. What are the 9? Make sure you memorize it. Number 1, Dajjal, the false Messiah, the Antichrist. Number 2, Gog and Magog, Ya'juj and Ma'juj. Number 3, Dukhan, smoke. Number 4, Dabbatul Ab, a beast of the earth, but Ab means land, and it could mean here Abdul Muqaddasa, holy land. Number 5, that the sun would rise from the west. Number 6, 7 and 8, 3 khusuf, plural of khas, an earthquake in which the earth sinks down and swallows what it swallows. 1 in the east, that's number 6. 1 in the west, that's number 7. And 1 in Arabia, that's number 8. And the 1 in Arabia, I have told you, would confirm that this is Imam al-Mahdi. And then number 9, that the fire will come out of Yemen and drive people to their place of assembly, which is Arafat. So there you are. History repeats itself. That was 9, and this is 9. The body of Pharaoh was discovered in 1897, I think. And in that same year, the Zionist movement was established in Europe, in Basel in Switzerland, I think. And so when the Zionist movement was established, we know, because the body of Pharaoh has been discovered in the same year, that the countdown has started. And events are now going to unfold as they unfolded at that time, with Pharaoh and Musa alayhi salam. That those who hold on to the truth will be small in number, and they won't have any missiles and tanks and machine guns. They will be weak and they'll be small in number. And those who rule over the world will be powerful, jabbar. And they will be people who will be well armed. They will have power. And they will use their power to oppress, as he used his power to oppress. And in the same way that he said, Ana Rabbukumul A'la, you must worship me, I am the Lord. They will do the same thing. That we are the ones who say, Allah is no longer Al-Malik, sovereign, the state is now sovereign. That is shirk. Allah's authority is no longer supreme, we don't recognize that. The authority of the state is now supreme. That is shirk. Allah's law is no longer the highest law, we don't recognize that. The law of the state is now the highest law. That is shirk. Allah can make something haram, we can make it halal. That is shirk. So in the same way that Pharaoh declared, I am your Lord Most High, so too in this age, those who rule over the world will be playing God. At the end of the 9 times, only then would Nabi Isa alayhi salam return. And when he returns at that time, history will again repeat itself. That they will all have to declare their faith in him. And then they'll die. And he'll give evidence against them. And they'll go into the hellfire. What do we do when we have now understood the Quran that we never understood before? Now, what do we do when we are living in that time when the body of Pharaoh has been discovered? The first thing you do is to go back to the Quran and study everything that the Quran has to say on the subject of Pharaoh and Musa alayhi salam. It is not by accident that Nabi Musa alayhi salam commands more space in the Quran than any other prophet. Why? Because the epic encounter between Musa alayhi salam and Pharaoh is this time to be reenacted in history. And we are now living at that moment in time when it's being reenacted. In the same way, you must not only study the subject of Musa and Pharaoh in the Quran, but now seek to monitor the signs. 9. I wonder how many have gone already. Because the body has been discovered. At the end of the 9, Isa alayhi salam will return. If I can study the subject of the 9, and if I can identify some of them, then I will know how much time remains before this epic encounter is repeated to conclusion.